Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video we are still in the holding, overhead Warthog VOR, and we are going to fly a raw data ILS approach in definite IMC conditions. Now, in pilot screening, when you are applying for an airline, you would be flying that holding manually, while at the same time you have to do the entire setup yourself. But we are going to simplify things a little bit. Once we're established on the downwind leg over here, I am going to hit pause, and then we are going to quickly do the setup and take a little bit of time to discuss everything, which basically is right now. So here we are, simulator is paused. And I'm just quickly going to correct that speed increase we see over there. So this is definitely looking better. So here we are, simulator is paused, and let's talk about the approach we plan to do. We have the ILS approach, runway 24 at Paderborn-Lippstadt, which is a great freeware scenery provided by Aerosoft. Now, what do we need? We're going to fly the standard approach out of Warthog VOR, which is on the radial 318 outbound. Maintain 5,000 feet till 8 DME, and thereafter, from the 8 DME point, we can descend 3,000 feet and join our final approach. So we need the frequency 108.55, and we will definitely need that one on both radios. It is an ILS DME, so that Paderborn DME over here is not so important. Then we have missed approach, climb straight ahead to 1.9 DME from either the DME or from the ILS, 1.6 DME. Then turn right to the NDB, climbing 3,000 feet. So we have Paderborn-Lippstadt 354 on the chart, which we are going to tune into the ADF. And we may as well put that one active up here, and definitely on the RMI as well. Minimums for this one, 874. Let's quickly put that one in. And I promised you in the beginning of this series that we are not going to use the FMS too much, and I definitely do stick with that. But we will quickly need it to set up our VREF. So let's have a quick look over here. So we're going to burn just 100 kilos. We're looking at a 60-ton aeroplane over here. I'm just going to keep that. We'll do a flap 30 landing. Auto brakes 3, and that is going to do what we want to achieve. Alright, that is the setup for the approach completed. On the course number 1 we still need this, 065 for the holding, 235 is our final approach course for the ILS, which is pre-selected, and that is pretty much all we need. Let's do a quick approach briefing then, just to be sure that we are actually all on the same side. So, looking at the raw data ILS approach for runway 24, chart 11-2 from the 1st of February 2019. Frequency is 108.55, standby on both radios. And we can actually put it active on the number 2 radio already. Final approach course is 235, set on your side. On my side I still have the inbound for the holding. Minimums 874, 874, and 874. Airport elevation 650. Let's quickly put that one in so that our ears won't pop by the time the outflow valve opens when we hit the ground. MSA 4200, so we gotta be careful not to leave that as we're on the procedure. Highest terrain here, 2100 feet on the chart. Now, what are we going to do? Once we started our inbound turn for the holding, we are going to make that left-hand turn 90 degrees there, so that is going to take a little bit of time. So I'll just start the turn when we are 2 miles from the VOR to intercept the radial 318 outbound. We're going to maintain 5,000 feet until 8 DME, or bearing, or radial 272 from Paderborn NDB. And then we'll continue until 14.2 DME from Warthog, which is the point where we start our final approach and where we have descended to 3,000 feet, which we're going to do after the 8 mile point. can see that up here as well. So 8 DME with that little one over there, 3,000 feet all the way to Ibago, which is the final approach fix. Final approach fix then at 7.3 miles from the ILS. We do have a 3-degree glide, and we will try to be configured for our approach by the time that we are establishing in the final descent. At 3.6 miles from the ILS, we're going to check an altitude of 1,830 down to the minimum of 874. In case of a missed approach, climb straight at 1.9 DME from Patron or 1.6 DME from the ILS. We're going to take it from the ILS because that means less tuning of radios in the missed approach segment. Then turn right to the NDB, climbing to an altitude of 3,000 feet. NDB 354 is active in the ADF and is hopefully going to pop up any moment we take the airplane out of the pause. Now that basically completes our briefing. Let's quickly talk about the go around then, just in case we have to do one. So in case we need to go around, we are definitely going to use reduced go around thrust, so we're looking at approximately 85%. Pitch of round about 10 degrees is going to keep us safe there, getting us to climb out at round about 1 to 2,000 feet a minute. The reason we are using reduced go-around thrust is because it makes things go a little bit slower, and the 737 operating on both engines has no problems whatsoever achieving the minimum gradient of 2.5% that we need there, so that is not a problem at all. So reduced go-around thrust makes our life a little bit easier, makes things go a little bit slower. Alright, let's go ahead then and start our approach. I have been talking for like the past 7 minutes already. So, that's our approach discussed. Simulator out of course. Of course the timing of the holding is now messed over. So let's just start the timer again and take maybe 60 seconds or so. If you haven't seen the previous episode on how to fly those holdings, then I would definitely recommend you to do that now. But overall, we are all set up for the approach. On our first approach, we're going to do it fully configured so that we can actually focus on the correct values for the final approach. With a flap 30 landing in the 737, you're looking at around about 1.52 degrees of pitch attitude, and the thrust gross weight minus 4%. So we are at 60 tons gross weight, which means we'll have something in the region around 56% of thrust. Now the PMDG is not entirely accurate there, so we might have to use a tiny bit less thrust. But that is something that is, as I found out discussing this with the developers, pretty hard to get done right in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so nothing I'm blaming PMDG for there. In fact, looking at other add-ons, it is very hard to find one that actually has a proper thrust modeling on final. So, gonna put that heading bug 065. I used a little bit too little bank there while I've been setting the heading bug. That's probably the reason why we're overshooting right now. But then again, more than 30 degrees we are not allowed, so that's how we simply have to re-intercept right now. At least we kept it within the protected airspace. That's the most important thing there. Right, we're very close to the VOR, so don't overcorrect it. Just take a tiny bit of offset here, like 15 degrees or so. Especially in a fast-moving airplane like the 737. So we set 2 miles prior to the station. We wanted to start our left-hand turn. And that's going to be on 318 outbound. So we're approaching the 2 mile point. 318. Let's go. Let's see how good that intercept is going to work out. We might overshoot a little bit, because whenever I'm doing something on the MCP, like now, it is rather hard to keep the flight path of the aeroplane exactly. So that's a little bit of the problem here, and probably something that I would very much be looking forward to with a possible FS2 crew program, that I can just command it by voice, and then everything is set by the co-pilot. That would definitely make things easier. That is how we do it in real life as well. The pilot flying is just giving those commands, and then the pilot monitoring is going to do those inputs. So we're still rather close to the station, 2.5 miles, so that's why I'm using just very little intercept angle over here. Again, 20 degrees roundabout. Depending on how close you are, you might need more, you might need less. But one thing is for certain, in flight school they teach you 30, 45, in some cases 60 degrees. You can do that when you're at some distance from the station, but in a fast-moving airplane like the 737, even now at just 210 knots, you definitely want to keep that under control, and you don't want to do a 45-degree intercept if you are like within 5 miles from the station, moving at, what are we doing right now? Like 3.5 miles a minute. Right, here comes our NDB. It's identified at Papa Alpha Delta. And we are established on the radio once again. Right, so next up at 8 DME we can descend to an altitude of 3,000 feet. Then we will continue flying at 14.2 DME. Then we have our final turn, so overall we're looking at distance of around about 12 miles, I would guess, at the moment. Which means there's ample time to configure the airplane. So, 8 DME. Let's descend 3,000 feet. Set. Try to make things easy. So, what I'm doing now, I'm descending the airplane to an altitude of 3,000 feet, and once we reach 3,000, then I'm going to start configuring the flaps. The final turn should give us ample time to do so. Of course, that means we still have to do a little bit of multitasking with intercepting our localizer. But overall, I find it easier, and especially for the exercise, I find it better to do it when you're in level flight, because it forces you to maintain that instrument scan and to maintain those 3,000 feet. I'm going to give it a little bit of speed brake. Looks like we have some updrafts in here, making the descent a little bit nastier. At 14.2 miles, final turn 235. I'm gonna set that runway heading already as a reminder for the course. Here we are, 235. Speed brake's going back in. We're leveled off. And we have 14.2. Start the final turn, ILS frequency active. Runway course, 235, flaps 1. Match the speed. And now, of course, maintain the altitude. Here comes the localizer. Flap 5. And the glide slope's alive as well. And gear down, flap 15. Flaps 30. VRF plus 5. And here we are. In order to maintain level flight in landing flap settings, you're looking at around about 70% of thrust. but we are already intercepting our glide slope, established on the ILS. And I think I just saw the altimeter change there. No, I didn't. Okay. And when you're established, try the established formula, gross weight -4, giving you the approximate thrust you need in order to maintain your airspeed on a 3-degree descent. Looking at 147 knots final approach there. Tad more thrust. Try 57%. Now at a distance of 3.60 mi, we are looking at a check altitude of 1,830. And overall, what I'm doing right now, try to keep that wide track line you have on the runway center line, and that is going to keep you more or less on the localizer. And then try to keep the airplane's pitch under control. So, as said, we're looking at about 2 degrees there in order to keep our airplane steady. And that is the primary target I have right now. Checking the ADI, and then checking the glide slope needle and the vertical speed indicator there. So we've passed 3.6 now, 1740, tiny bit low, but then again we're a tiny bit below the glide slope, so that makes sense. Correcting that for now. Check. So we can see our runway lights coming up over there. Tiny bit more thrust it seems. Alright, for the purpose of the exercise, we're going to do the go-around this time. And we will take the airplane up to 3,000 feet. So, go around, flap 15, set go around thrust. So, 10 degrees of pitch, around about what we need. We're about 400 feet. So, positive rate, gear up. Flaps 5. Flaps 1. And flaps up. Approaching the target altitude already. So I'm lowering my pitch a little bit here so that we don't overshoot. Maybe 7.5 degrees, something like that. Try to find easy values to keep your airplane under control. Don't try to make everything like 100% exact, but rather aim for some easy to maintain standards, even though that might give you a little bit of imprecision. Because you can then always do those little adjustments in order to get everything back under control. So, thank you Microsoft Flight Simulator for taking that ILS out in the back course segment totally. Should have seen our DME here, but we don't. But by now, I'm fairly certain it is time to make a turn back towards the NDB. So thank you very much Asobo for kinda ruining my raw data experience here. That should definitely not have happened. But now we're maintaining 3000, we're flying back to the NDB, and from there we are then going to fly our raw data approach, our second one, and on this one we are going to fly the thing as a standard low drag approach like we would do it when actually flying the line. So So on the previous one, we had the aeroplane configured pretty much by the time we intercepted the glide slope. On this one, we are going to make it a bit more interesting, and we are going to fly our low drag configuration as we would do it on normal line flying. That's a very good exercise to get your instrument scanning under a little bit better control, and especially a very good exercise to do something about deviations that you might encounter. Deviations, of course, as in configuration changes of the aeroplane. Alright. Then towards the NDB, for the outbound sector, we're going to need Paderborn DME, which is 108.5. I'm going to tune that one on radio number 2. And of course, keeping a pitch under control is still the primary concern, but that's the problems that we're facing in a single pilot environment like Microsoft Flight Simulator here. So let's quickly have a look at what we are going to do on the second approach then. We'll fly outbound on 078 from Paderborn NDB until 6.8 DME, which we have active down here in VOR number 2. And then we're going to make our left-hand turn back inbound to the station, and we can do the whole thing, as we can see here, at 3,000 feet. So we're approaching the station, that's why I'm not really chasing the needle right now. There is absolutely no sense doing so. And then we'll join 078 outbound. Here we go. There is an easy principle when you are flying on the needles over here, which goes both for the ADF as well as for the VOR. That is, if you're looking at the tail of the needle, you're always pulling it along. So if I want this to move a little bit more to the left, I'm just going to do a left turn and it's going to follow. If I'm looking at the tip of the needle, it will always fall down from you. So if we would imagine this to be the tip and I wanted to move to the left, it means I would have to steer the airplane to the right. What's the FMC saying there? End of route, yeah, that's fine. And we're just gonna do this. Oh, there's something in the FMC again. Quickly reselect our flap speed, and we're all set. Right, gonna fly that one till 8.6 DME. A good hint as to when the final turn is going to commence is that you can see your glide slope running in over here. Note that on the PFD it's hidden from you when you are flying on the outbound course, but you either have it on the ND over here in the approach mode, or you can use your standby instruments, and there you will see it at all times as well. So, 8.6 miles, start the left-hand turn. A quick cross-check that you can always do for the ILS if you're doing things like this is frequencies, courses, minimums. That is basically what you need. So, for the frequencies, we have 108.55 active on both radios right now. Courses 235 both sides, minimums 874 are selected as well. A little bit of weather here as we can hear. So, the speed slowly starts to get a little excessive. I'm going to reduce thrust a little bit. Localizer alive. And we have localizer capture. From heading 235 set. Flap 1. And flap 5. Don't climb away. And we have glide slope capture. Gonna help the plane a little bit with the deceleration. Speed brakes out. Flaps 10 might do a bit of help as well here. We're on IMC, so at 5 miles we're gonna take the gear down. Right, gear down, flap 15, speed brakes coming back up. Try not to use excessive rates of descents like I just did. You definitely shouldn't be doing that. And flaps 30. Looking at VRF plus 5. We have to be stable by the gate over here, but we are within stable criteria now. Not perfect, of course, but we are within all the stable criteria, so we can continue our approach. This time it's hopefully going to be into a landing. But you can see once again, thrust approximately gross weight minus 4, and the pitch somewhere around the region 2 degrees. Of course, that's slightly varying due to weather, due to turbulence and everything, but you can see how the overall idea gets us exactly where we want to go. So let's go back into our normal landing view here, so that I can actually see something outside. And of course, checked, since this is a training flight, we'll try to put the airplane directly onto the aiming point. Continue. Or as they say, our target is to make a smooth and a safe landing, with safe being the priority.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And here we are. Welcome to Patron. Speed brake up. And thrust wheels normal. $100 knots. 80 knots. 60 knots, manual brakes. Auto brake disarm. We'll bring the airplane to stop on the runway over here. And that completes today's exercise. I hope you found this one interesting. So, you can see the challenges of flying raw data in a single pilot environment here. Whenever I had to do some switching on the MCP, then it was very easy to lose the altitude that we try to maintain, or to lose the bank angle that we try to maintain. So, try to do things in a situation where you can slow things down a bit. For example, it would have been possible to take flaps 5 out and establish at the flap 5 speed before the final turn. That would surely have made things a little bit easier, even though, in my opinion, it would have taken the fun a little bit out of it. And after all, that is what Flight Simulator is still about, isn't it? But I hope that you got the idea of how we're doing things, and I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of it and if it was of any help for you. For now, thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you do want to support the channel, you can do so through the Buy Me a Coffee link below, or through the Patreon link if you do want to become a permanent supporter. Thank you very much for joining, and I'm looking forward to see you all again, hopefully very soon.